If you've been treating this verse like a self-help checklist for being a better person, you are setting yourself up for a lifetime of exhaustion and spiritual burnout. You've been told that if you just try harder to live right, God will fix your life. But that is a lie that has kept more Christians trapped in frustration than almost anything else. You are using this verse as a band-aid for a wound that requires surgery, and it's the exact reason why, despite your best efforts, nothing in your life is actually changing. Most people treat this scripture like a New Year's resolution. They read it and think, okay, I just need to stop watching these shows, stop hanging out with those people, and start disciplining my habits. They focus entirely on the doing. You clean up the outside, you put on the Sunday smile, and you white-knuckle your way through the week. But inside, the same anxiety is screaming. The same bitterness is rotting. The same cycles of shame keep coming back the moment you're alone. You're exhausted because you're trying to force a holy life onto a worldly mind. And it's creating a gap between you and God that feels wider every single day. You need to hear what the word actually says, not what you've been conditioned to believe it says. Romans 12:2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. When Paul wrote these words to the believers in Rome, he wasn't talking to people who didn't know God. He was speaking to people just like you, people who believed, but who were still being pressed into the mold of the culture around them. The Roman world was loud, demanding, and built on power and self-interest. Paul saw that these Christians were trying to serve a new king while still using the old world's blueprints for how to think and react. This is the problem you are facing right now. You are trying to build a kingdom life using a worldly operating system. This is why your prayers feel like they're hitting a brass ceiling and why your faith feels like a chore instead of a source of power. The word conformed in the original text refers to an outward mask. It means you are letting the world dictate your shape from the outside in. If the world is stressed, you are stressed. If the world is obsessed with status, you are obsessed with status. You are a chameleon trying to blend into a kingdom you don't belong to anymore. But Paul doesn't offer a list of rules to fix this. He offers a total internal overhaul. He uses the word transformed, which is the same root word we use for metamorphosis. It is the process of a caterpillar becoming something entirely different from the inside out. You cannot act your way into a metamorphosis. It is a fundamental shift in your very nature. This transformation only happens through the renewing of your mind. This is the part you've been skipping. You've been trying to renew your actions while leaving your mind in the world's gutter. Your mind is the gatekeeper of your life. If your mind is still programmed to believe that your worth comes from people or that your security comes from your bank account, then no amount of Christian behavior will ever make you free. You are stuck because you are trying to live a new life with an old perspective. This is why Jesus was so confrontational with the religious leaders of his day. In Matthew 15, he made it clear that what defiles a person isn't what they do on the outside, but what comes out of the heart and the mind. He told them they were like whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside, but full of dead men's bones within. If you focus on the behavior without the mind renewal, you are just painting the tomb. You are still dead inside, and that's why you feel so empty even when you're doing everything right. Jesus wants the core of who you are to shift, because once the source is pure, the life becomes pure naturally. Paul doubles down on this in Ephesians 4, where he commands us to put off the old man and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Notice he doesn't say, be renewed in your willpower. He says the spirit of your mind. It's about the very atmosphere of your thoughts. If your mental atmosphere is clouded by the lies of the enemy and the standards of this world, you will always be a victim of your circumstances. But when your mind is renewed, your discernment changes. You start to see things as God sees them. This is exactly what Proverbs 23:7 means when it says, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he." Your life is a physical manifestation of your dominant thoughts. If you think like a slave to fear, you will live like a slave to fear, even if you're sitting in a church pew. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. And who you are is determined by what your mind is stayed upon. This is why your life feels like a constant struggle. You are thinking like the world and wondering why you aren't experiencing the peace of God. The good, acceptable, and perfect will of God isn't a secret you have to hunt for. It's a reality you prove or discern once your mind is no longer clogged with worldly trash. You've been asking God for direction, but you can't hear him because your mind is still tuned to the frequency of the world. That's why you feel stuck. That's why you feel like God is silent. He's not silent. You're just looking through a distorted lens. Stop trying to change your life from the outside. Stop the performance. Transformation isn't something you do. It's something that happens to you when you finally stop. Let the world mold you and start letting the truth reshape you. Until you renew your mind, you will continue to repeat the same mistakes, feel the same pain, and wonder why the gospel doesn't seem to work for you. It works, but only when you stop fighting for your old way of thinking. If you've realized today that you've been white-knuckling your faith instead of renewing your mind, you need to stay locked into this truth. Subscribe and join us as we stop playing religion and start seeking transformation.